My name is James Martinez. I'm an author, an artist, poet, a filmmaker, and I've been in the direct presence of God our Father. I've transcended, overcame the world, and rose above it, and I made my way to heaven. It's a rather extraordinary experience. It didn't just suddenly happen. There were quite a few steps that brought this experience about. It started early in 2003. I was on the back end of a very difficult experience. I was going through a divorce at the time. I found myself in a very challenging place. I was self-destructing. I was doing all the wrong things. I was wanting for all the wrong things. I was going in all the wrong directions. And at the same time I was doing that, I awoke spiritually. So it was a rather challenging experience to encounter. But at the time, what had happened was I began to see the spiritual side of life at the very same time as I see the material. That's quite challenging for some people. There's a lot of skepticism out there in the world on whether or not things like this exist. But the things that I had become part of, they actually reveal not only that this exists, but that God Himself is the one who's truly governing everything, and He's above everything, and He's created life in a very specific way for a very specific reason. I found myself on the wrong side, fighting for the wrong side, wanting for the wrong things, and coming to terms with the person that I was a very big step. I think we're all challenged with the sort of things that we encounter with life. There's no easy way to get through it. It is what it is. But we don't have to suffer it or ourselves. And that was some of the things that God began to teach me, was that there's a certain way that we can get through the world, living in peace and being in love and actually celebrating the gift, and instead of doing the things in a very wrong way, going for the wrong things and bringing havoc to our lives. So it was a big contrast to learn the difference. If anybody who's had any kind of experience with the spiritual or the supernatural, you realize that there's two sides to everything. There's a positive side, there's a negative side. There's a good side, there's an evil side. There's a light side, there's a dark side. Well, when I woke up, I found myself on that dark side doing some pretty dark things. It was very challenging to come to terms with the sort of character that I had actually developed over the years. But it was a starting point. As I began to research the things that I was part of, I found myself looking for answers, spiritual answers, the sort of things that we all have within us, that we're all seeking questions to know. I wanted to know the meaning behind, our body's energy, how it works, how we connect with one another. I wanted to understand, spirituality. I wanted to know about consciousness. I wanted to know about afterlife and death and all the things that are so challenging for many people. As I started my journey, I started having extraordinary supernatural things occur. I found myself meeting with otherworldly persons, angels, different hierarchical forms of angels on occasion. I did come face to face with the cherubim, and I had a blessing to meet all of the archangels. That they were experiences throughout my journey that helped me come to terms with the person that I was, and helping me to become the person that I am now. It's quite challenging for people to say that they've met with angels and they've talked with angels, but at the same time, we're surrounded by these otherworldly persons all the time. Demons are real as well. Some people that I've encountered along my journey since then, I find are battling demons, whether they're inside of them or outside of them. They tend to push people in the wrong directions, and they go in very unrighteous ways because of it. And it's part of the experience of life. There's two sides to everything, and if we're not straight with God and doing the things that He asks us to do, then we find ourselves falling victim to things like that. And And when I woke up, I realized that that had befallen me as well. So, as I started to discover the sort of character that I carried, and I started getting closer to wanting for better things, I realized that I was in need of really examining myself and finding out the things that needed to go, and then having to learn the things that I needed most. So it was quite an experience to be part of. But I'm sharing this so that you understand that I'm not just some person over here, holding a Bible or speaking the message of God without having any kind of background. I assure you, I've been to the darkest places. I've been through every horrible experience that you can imagine, and I got through that thanks to God. I moved in a better way. I learned how to eventually stand upright, and then I learned how to walk. And I think that, each of us are called to do that very sort of thing. We're called to learn how to be the persons we're supposed to be in order to be within the world doing the sort of things that we're meant to be doing. Now, if you're anything like me, then it's very challenging to learn to stand up because you try and do it on your own. The world's created in a way that doesn't allow for that. And often, if you find somebody that keeps falling backwards or falling down, or they keep doing all the wrong things, there's a good chance that they're not holding on to God or following the directions that He's provided for all of us. And because of that, they suffer the consequences, and hence, suffering themselves or the world. There's quite a few lessons that He taught me. Over the years, He's taught me many things. Most importantly is that I hope we all understand is that we're never alone going through these sort of things. There's always His support and His love, and He's always there to help us get through these things. But we have to understand what it is it takes to be able to get close to Him and then be able to hold on to Him as we move through the world. And a lot of people that I know, they would rather do the sort of things that the world wants them to do instead of doing the sort of things that God asks us to do. And because of that, they go back and forth. They falter, and I think that's a challenging step for anybody. You can't just go to church one day a week and think that, oh, we got it all straight. I mean, we're talking about being in communion with God all the time and having a relationship that allows for us to go in a really good way. So these are the lessons that He's taught me. I'm going to share them through these video messages, and I hope that if something resonates with you, that it inspires you to do great things yourself, that you pick up your faith and you start exercising it, and that the world turns into a better place for you and everybody that you know. So thank you for listening, and God bless you.